Welcome everybody. Today I'll be talking about karmic bankruptcy. So for those of you who haven't seen my definition of karma, you can go back and watch my video. I have a couple of them on karma, but just to reiterate quickly and briefly, the karmic idea that I circulate and regularly refer to in any of my videos is talking about the interest or the investment of thought into any given scenario, circumstance, person, anything. So it's not actually the action. And I'll explain. The action is only a consequence of the thought. It's only a consequence of the occurrence. Because if you are not intrinsically invested, or if something is not repeating within your consciousness, like say you acted rashly in a certain situation and you acted out of instinct, okay, and it was something that wasn't premeditated, it was completely spontaneous. So if you act on that and you never think about it again until maybe somebody else talks about it, then really that karma has closed in your karmic bank account. So if you do something and have no conscience or morality towards like if it is right or wrong, it's really not a karmic attachment. It's not a karmic relationship or a burden on you. And therefore, since there's no karmic burden, there's no karmic investment in that given action or circumstance or whatever, what have you, it has no karmic backlash. And what I mean by karmic backlash is that it no longer has any capability of coming back around to make you suffer. And ultimately, the thing that makes you suffer is your idea about the action, your judgment about the person, your judgments and your values and how they are in alignment or are not in alignment with whatever transpired. So karma is what you are intrigued in. It's what you are invested in, not only energetically, not only like physically, energetically. Like you don't only invest your time, money, and energy into this person, place, or thing. It's also the thought, how much you think about it, how often it happens, what the quality of thought and the quality of emotions that go on circulating. So again, just to be clear, emotion is just a barometer of how clear your thinking is. So without going in too far into that, the karmic load that we carry on ourselves through our lifetimes, through our daily actions, through our daily choices, those are all things that we give or take, we more or less have a free will over, because you can turn away your attention and be unattentive of something so that it becomes you escape from it, or it becomes hidden. But again, just turning away from it, it's still going to be there. And when you glance back over or you look again, it's going to be there again. So you can't really escape anything, whether it's a thought, an emotion. You can only close your eyes to it, and when you open your eyes again, it will be there. So what do I mean by this? Why is this relevant? Because karma is what you are consistently thinking. And if you are consistently denying something, which is a thought, so if you deny something, it is not an absence of thought. You are actually going against that thought and putting effort and energy towards opposing it, like going to war, or denying, or like absolving it, and ridding it from your attention, your consciousness. And when you're trying to rid something, you're trying to kill it. So when you kill it, it creates a tension in you. It creates a resistance that is very deeply wounding. It's deeply hurtful to yourself, because ultimately you are a human being and you cannot get rid of anything. There, as some of you may have heard, that the law of physics, where an energy can not be created nor destroyed. As a human being, you can't create or destroy anything. It just is the idea of it being destroyed. And then when you are no longer thinking about that thing or that person or that event that happened, then you are absolved or relieved of this burden, right? This idea of it ever being a problem in your life. So it disappears, right? This problem, this karmic burden disappears. It could be a day, it could be a couple hours, it could be a week, it could be years, okay? So however long that is, it's if it is a denial, if it is something that you are escaping from, and believe me, you will know if you're escaping from it, because if it is coming around and if it still is circulating within you and it's affecting your decisions or your indecision, then it is clearly a nuisance to you and your own freedom. So if karma was a bank account and you had this, you had your bills, you had all these automatic payments that you set up, right? Or if you abolish the service you get, then you no longer are karmically invested in that, right? Not always the case, because if you are still, even though you don't think about, or you don't have this, even though that you don't realize that you're investing your karmic money into this thing, that this service, for instance, this automatic pay withdrawal from your account, even though you're not aware of it, it could still be happening. So, and it could still be influencing the credit, or the account, the money, the karmic, your karmic bank account. So even though you don't know what's taking this this money, this karmic money out of your bank account, it could still be that service or that exchange that you have neglected, or that you have overlooked. Is the karma that is occurring with the thinking. So if you are karmically bankrupt, then you actually are no longer caring about any of your bills. You kind of just like done away with all your obligations, your responsibilities, all the things. So you are kind of putting priority to love yourself more than anything. So what may or may not be a good example, but an example maybe of like someone who no longer cares about like keeping up with all these services and like niceties and all these modern pleasures of this modern world. They kind of go a stint of time without, like, engaging in that stuff. So they eliminate it from their karmic bank account, so that no longer it's taking their it's no longer depleting their account. Okay, so when this happens, you're not getting new karma in, because really, if you're exchanging karma, if you're getting a karmic service, you are also exchanging money, and there's an equal benefit there. So in order to not accumulate a karmic bank account, you need to. There can't be a savings. There can't be a karmic savings. Okay, is what I'm trying to say. And there's not any longer an exchange going on, whether it's with a person, place, or thing. So this could happen temporarily. This could be like a just a spell of time where you're not engaging, but it could also be gradually, where you're just getting less and less karmically involved with things, people, and places. And that means you're no longer incurring or accumulating karma, meaning you're no longer, you have no karmic money to spend. So, it's not a good or bad thing. It's something that is relinquishing your karma. So karma needs friction. Life needs tension. Life needs opposites. Life needs to, the sun and the moon, the dark and the night, the male and female, all these things. Life is a subtle tension. And when you no longer have that tension, there is no karma. So essentially, the karmic bankruptcy is what I'm talking about when I say karmic bankruptcy, is when you are no longer thinking about whether the choices you make are good or bad, right or wrong. You are no longer taking into consideration what you have done in the past or what you're going to do in the future is going to be, right or wrong. So the less you think about, and the less you toil and kind of juggle and bargain with yourself about what it is that you're going to do and if it's going to be the right choice or not, the less karmic baggage you have, the less karmic investment you have. Because when you're thinking in terms of morality and immorality and like juggling between what's right and what's wrong, it's again this exchange. It's again this whether you're going to spend your karmic money on this thing that is really nice and this really special car, this really special like investment, like a mortgage, or something that is, or even something as simple as like a Spotify membership or a gym membership, that's taking out monthly payments from your account. So when the more that you're juggling within your mind, whether it's a good, right, wrong, good or bad decision, it's taking a payment from you. It's taking a karmic payment from you, so that you are constantly exchanging in this like dynamic field of energy, which is subtle. It's thoughts, so it's not as gross as these physical things which we can so plainly see. This is like right or good or bad, and that is draining in itself. That is completely enveloping you in this karmic cycle that is going to catalyze a more and more decisions or choices that are based on this very dualistic, black and white kind of choices you make. And when you have choices, when there's choice in the context of what you're doing, then you are clearly deciding between a karmic load. And if it's like a light karmic load, then it's considered a good one. If it's a heavy karmic load, it would be considered a bad thing, because like you would feel bad about it. You'd have a conscience over doing this thing, so I'm not going to do this, and I'll do this thing instead, because I can freely think about this, and I don't have to consistently have this going on in my mind, reminding me of this evil thing I did, and it like taking away from my enjoying my life now. Okay? So that choice that we give to ourselves, that choice that we also deny ourselves, because when we're deciding between this and that, good or bad, best or better, it's like good or better, that kind of thinking, we're also setting ourselves up for, again, a karmic exchange. So because you are kind of denying that in that moment, the option that you are negating or that you're not preferring. So if you're still choosing between the good and better choices, by all means, that's where you're at, and that's the best, for a lot of people. However, this is also a suffering, because you are choosing and denying that which you are not preferring. So when you don't prefer something and you don't choose it, yes, it is good temporarily for you to do that. So you can establish a kind of like inner boundaries or inner like strength that it's capable. You're capable of like having joy no matter what. But you don't need to choose between anything to have joy. You are able to be choiceless, to have no choices, to have like zero options, and then there's still a possibility for you to be happy there. Like you cannot have any, because what choices are is thoughts. Choices are thoughts, and they are possibilities, probabilities, timelines. They are the fuel and the food for karmic sustenance, because karma needs time, and karma needs objects to impact, like events, people, and places, to send it on a new course, a new timeline. So without getting all into that, I'm just saying that choicelessness is something where you are no longer thinking, and you're no longer thinking about, because thinking is dualistic, because thinking has a contrast, and it always compares like better and best, or worse or better. Because of that, once you get out of that, you are truly become free. You truly become joyful, and you truly, like, reality and the possibilities really open up for you. And while I'm saying all this, I'm not saying that preferring things is bad. I'm not saying that preferring, like, choosing things that feel better aren't like a good thing to do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you will ultimately end up with some kind of like reconsideration of that action, maybe in the future, about whether that was the right choice or not. And when you have that moment, whether it's a second, if it's months or years, when you have that, that's the karmic bondage you are in. That's the karmic cycle that you're in, and that's what keeps you suffering. That keeps you inside of this karmic bank account kind of checking and balancing and worrying all the time about whether the right choices are made and the right investments are made. So this is a very pathological and psychotic kind of it's very stressful. Okay, I don't want to put anybody in a spot. It's extremely stressful, and it's not exactly the ideal way of living, in my opinion, but to each his own. And I will also say that when you are incurring, or if you're investing your time, energy, or money, or your attention, your consciousness, whether it's a TV show, a person, a place, or thing, that it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how noble or how extravagant or how lovely. It doesn't even matter how much it makes you feel. It's how much that you are thinking of that when it's not there. And that's what I mean by that is you are in the moment of enjoying this experience, but if that experience is taken away from you, or you take yourself away from that experience, and you're suffering from it not being there, then of course it is a karmic attachment. It's still a karmic bondage. It's still a karmic load on you. So now you have to reconsider, and you have to stress yourself out about, was this a right decision to take myself away from it too soon, or is it too early, or whatever. And this is really a schizophrenic thing that we're talking about. This is really just a something that will drive you mad. And karmic bankruptcy is when we actually just no longer are investing our attention into the things that we do. So whether it's you're working at a job and you feel bad because your friends have a much better job and they're getting paid more, and they can afford all these vacations and things that they're doing, and you're worried about is this a good decision? Maybe I should go back to school, or maybe I should get into this industry, or what have you. When you're thinking about that, that's really causing you suffering. And because you have to make a choice. And it's not only that you have to make a choice, it's that you're denying what it is that what's going through now, what you're going through now. And whether that is valid or, true or powerful or profound, the thing that you're going through right now, you're feeling, you're suspecting, you're suspicious of it being something other than what it could be. And what it can be is, of course, infinite. It could be anything that you may think about. And what you're going through, whether it's ordinary or extraordinary, it can give you suffering, or it could give you great joy. So this constant fiddling, this constant kind of playing with what it is that you feel and think is right and wrong, is going to infringe this karmic baggage on you. So again, just to reiterate in other words, what you do not think about, what you no longer care about. I don't want to say care because it gives people the wrong impression, but what you are no longer attached to in the terms of like it's the results of it, whether it's a person, place, thing. What you have no kind of like partialness or preference for, that is when you are no longer karmically attached to it. So when you do something and you no longer think about it, whatever it is, absolutely anything, when you do that thing and are no longer thinking about it, you have no more karma around that. So you can see how we can generate all this. We can generate through our lifetime so many things to think about and reflect on and to like compare and to contrast and to choose from. So this creates a great amount of tension, a great amount of stress, and it's highly, it's highly combative, especially if you have this lack of belief in you that what you're choosing is only limited. What you're choosing is only for a limited time. Like I can only choose between this and that while I'm in my 20s or 30s or 40s. This is completely psychotic. It's completely psychological, and it's not reality. So the best thing I can say is breathe and empty your worries, empty your pleasures, even the pleasures, because they go hand in hand with each other. The pleasures and the pains, empty them into me, empty them into the person you admire. I'm not saying you admire me or anything. I'm just saying empty them into a symbol, into a permission slip. Whether it's like, making music, painting, smoking marijuana, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, hanging out with your friends, going on vacation, anything. It could be working out, running, walking your dog, spending time with your dog every day. Give it up to that. Allow that to be a permission slip for you to no longer suffer and just enjoy what you're engaging in. And there's of course that is only a temporary fix, but that will get you accustomed to this kind of inner boundaries and this inner strength that you can the inner resource that you can call from, and that you are able to, again, feel free, and again, to feel without this heavy responsibility and this heavy, expectation from people, whether they're your parents, your siblings, the community, your friends, your distant family, all that stuff, So what else? I want to say also that the less that you think, the less that you are involved in processes of thought, the more that you will live from the heart, and the more that you will enjoy your life. Because the purpose of life is love. The purpose of life is freedom, is expansion, exploration. It's infinite experience. And as a soul, you came here in this human experience to afford yourself that opportunity within the human spectrum, the human density, the current human form, and the current location in space-time. So we can take this, and we can take what I've said about karma and about it being an infringement upon your own bliss, your own existential well-being, your own existential life. It being robust, it can be, karma and thoughts can be an infringement upon the robustness of life, upon the exploration and the expression and the experience of this, whatever this is for you. You know, what this is for me is much different for it is for you. So, you know, I praise that. I praise that the infinite spectrum of diversity within this realm. So take this this idea and really marinate with it, that thoughts are an infringement upon your own existence as you are, because without thoughts you would be, and there's nothing right or wrong about that. And the less you have to really kind of like to be something other than what you're not, is ultimately the resource and the superpower for your ultimate satisfaction, your ultimate